You remind me in your introduction of the time when I think I was Secretary of State for Transport, where the person introducing me read out the list of ministerial appointments that I'd had, and he said, "And we sincerely hope this will be your last job." I think he meant it kindly, but actually this may well be the last time I will make a speech from this platform. And I'm not sure who is more relieved. You've been forced to listen to me over the last few years, or me, who has gone through the anxiety of preparing year after year for these moments. Forget budgets, PBRs, the Lord Mayor's banquet, or even the TUC. This has always been one of the hardest speeches to give. For at its heart, there is a tension between what I know you as a party would like to hear and what I know I have to say. I'm sure I would have enjoyed a stint as conference darling. But as Vince Cable will find out, in the long run, it is better to resist the urge to go for easy applause. As a keen ballroom fan, he should know that even the niftiest dancer can't face both ways at once. To hear him talk, you'd think that one day he was in government, the next day out of it. It's real political hokey-cokey. So I am truly delighted to say that preparing today's speech was a good deal easier. Not because I'm now stepping down from the front bench after the privilege you have given me of 13 years in the Cabinet, but because before saying a few words about our future, I do want to talk about some of the things I know you want to hear. First, about the fact that in Ed Miliband we have a new leader with the determination, the ability and the commitment to win back the trust and support we need from the people of this country. He knows what needs to be done, and it's our job to get on and do it together. And secondly, about the pride we should take in what we have achieved. Pride in the way that we change Britain for the better in ways big and small. And pride as well in how we stopped the worst financial crisis for over 60 years, becoming another Great Depression. Because that's what the Tories and the Liberals conveniently forget as they try and con the country into believing the deficit is a result of extravagant spending decisions or reckless decisions. It was not. The deficit is the result of the banking crisis and the economic crisis that followed it. It's why every other country in the developed world is facing higher borrowing. Yes, we did take decisive action to stop businesses closing, people losing their homes and thousands more being thrown out of work. And without this action, borrowing would not have been lower in the long run, but higher. Of course, there was another choice. We could have sat back and done nothing, letting people sink or swim. If we'd listened to the same Tories who now decry our record, that's exactly what would have happened. When Northern Rock first ran into trouble, the Tories said, let the market take its course and let the bank fail. When we intervened to support the wider banking system, the Tories opposed us. But we understood that if the banks failed, it wouldn't have been the bankers that paid the price. It would be the businesses who used them, the jobs they supported, the millions who used their services to save on tomorrow. And as I said at the time, we will get every penny of taxpayers' money back. We'll do more than that, but you can be pretty sure you won't hear the Tories admit it. And here, let me pay tribute to the leadership of Gordon Brown. Because had Gordon not been in the driving seat at the G20 conference in London, we would not have seen the coordinated international effort to stop the global crisis turning into a catastrophe. And it's a real tragedy that the momentum that he built up in the G20 has now virtually collapsed, and the new government has to accept its share of the blame for that happening. As the impact of this crisis infected the real economy, We also took the decision to step in to help families and businesses. Again, the Conservatives opposed it. But history will show we were right and they were wrong. Even though the global crisis led to an economic contraction, much more severe than the Tory recessions of the 80s and early 1990s, unemployment and repossessions this time remained far lower. Our judgment was proved right. Our approach worked. Now, these were extraordinary times, the like of which I really hope no one has to live through again. Decisions that would normally take months were made in hours, and none of us involved knew for sure what was going to happen. We hoped, but truthfully, we did not know for certain. But we acted because we in our party believe that we have a role in protecting people and creating opportunities, a role which individuals by themselves cannot fulfill. That's the real big society in action. The Tories don't share this view. They believe that government is always the problem, never the solution. And that, it is what is driving their approach now. The cuts they are making are the same old right-wing ideology dressed up as necessity. Their approach is dishonest. To hear them speak, you might conclude it was the Labour government's investment in new schools and hospitals which somehow brought the US and global economy to the brink of disaster. Borrowing has soared here, as around the world, as a result of the economic collapse. Tax receipts fell as companies' profits fell, and people spent less money in shops. And yes, spending rose because we chose to support the economy when the private sector was weak. But that is why people stayed in their jobs. It's why people stayed in their homes. And as for the Liberal Democrats, they went within a week from saying the Tory plans for spending cuts were an unjustifiable risk to claiming they were the only way forward. But no matter how many times they try and justify their extraordinary change of mind, it doesn't wash. But for the avoidance of doubt, and for their benefit, I'll say it again, borrowing was less, not more, than we forecast. Growth in this country is stronger than we thought. Britain was never going to go the way of Greece. I know that, you know that, and so should they. And the Liberals are doing nothing to soften the Tory stance. They are mere window dressing, selling this Tory government to the country. But you and I also know that we cannot ignore the deficit. That would be as foolish as standing back and doing nothing when the crisis hit. We had in place tough plans to halve borrowing within 4 years. But don't let anyone tell you there is no difference between us and this coalition government. We never have been and never will be the same. The Tories are using the need to reduce borrowing as a way of dismantling the support that millions of people depend upon. This isn't new politics, it's very old politics. And the approach they've chosen, and it is a choice, is a huge gamble with growth and jobs. For ideological reasons, they're putting at risk the recovery we worked so hard to bring about. And we have to expose the gamble they're taking. Our approach is measured and balanced. What we did over the last 2 years has worked. That is why our economy is growing, why borrowing is coming down. And to abandon that balanced approach, as the Tories and Liberals are doing, will put tens of thousands of jobs at risk and hit the living standards of millions of families in this country. And as Ed has said on Saturday, if we set out a credible plan, with conviction and confidence, we can win back the trust and support that we lost in May. I've seen this party in power, and for too long in opposition. We all came into politics to make a difference, and you can do that in government, not out. We know what we need to do, and we should have the confidence to get out and do it. We need to stay in the centre ground of British politics. We must be credible and confident to regain the people's trust. And with Ed as leader, we will do that. We should be proud of our record in government, proud of public services transformed, proud of the minimum wage with fairness entrenched, proud of our support for pensioners securing dignity in old age, proud of the children lifted out of poverty, proud of the constitutional reform and civil partnerships, proud to have saved hundreds of thousands of jobs when the country was on the edge of depression. So let's be clear about what we stand for what we believe. It is a privilege to belong to the Labour Party and to be part of a Labour government. So let's be proud of the changes we've made and let's look to the future with confidence. Thank you very much.